Hey, how you doing? Is there something? Did you shoot something different? Did you shoot something different? You look different. You look a little different. Is it your hair? I think, it's your hair. It is. Yes. You got a little cut, trim, color. Didn't wash it? Got it. I knew it. Yeah. Me? Oh, me? No, I didn't do anything to my hair. No. Let me think. No. Nope, didn't do anything to my hair, but you look great. You look great. Just kidding. Yeah, I'm back to me. Back to OG Chris. Oh man, this is weird. I literally stared at myself in the mirror for about 30 minutes last night trying to re-identify myself. I hope I'm not shocking too many of you right now. I do feel like me though, and that's what everybody's telling me. They're like,
oh, it's Christina again, it's Chris again.
And then I'm like, yeah. And I've kind of tried to do like a blonde that's a little bit more like a natural kind of, not like platinum blonde. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below. I am very, very sensitive and you will hurt my feelings if you say I don't like it. So just kidding. Anyway, that's one little announcement I have today, but I also have a massive, huge announcement for you guys that I've been working on for about a year now. And probably most of you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the movie that I made. Might be making a horror movie for you guys, like a legit. It's the movie that I made with my friends, Jay and Selena, and I have an awesome sneak peek preview for you guys somewhere in this video, and I'm very excited to show you. And I also might have some screening dates for you that are coming up really quick, so make sure to check those out down in the description and hopefully the comments below. I gotta remember to do that. As of right now, we have one screening date, but hopefully we're gonna have a couple to a few more, so I will keep you posted on those. But without further ado, in the spirit of movies, specifically horror movies and found footage horror movies, I wanted to talk about my favorite, probably the most underrated found footage horror movie, and that is Creep. So let's get into it. I want to talk about something pretty sweet right now, okay? And what I think is sweet is my favorite time of year is coming up, and that is autumn! This is actually the first day of autumn, and what better way to celebrate than to tell you guys about my new little autumn dragon from Dragon City. Thank you to Dragon City for sponsoring today's video. So as you guys know, I have partnered with Dragon City many, many times before, and they have made really cool avatars with me for them. What? No. And together we have made some really cool custom avatars together, but we have the improved Autumn Chris Dragon. After releasing the Call Me Chris Dragon and the Call Me Chris pin decoration, Dragon City brings you the new Autumn Chris Dragon, and she's so cute! Don't be fooled though, this dragon has more than just a cute new outfit. She also has new cool elements that you will love. And here are some other cool things that you can do in Dragon City. You can create your own dragon empire by collecting and evolving over 1,000 unique dragons, including dragons of your favorite YouTubers, aka me. You can construct and customize your dream city with magical habitats, buildings, and decorations. You can engage in epic PvP battles with other dragon masters to prove your dragon's strength and dominate the leading board. You can unleash your powerful dragon skills and strategies to conquer challenging quests and events. So join a vibrant community of players and collaborate in alliances to unlock exclusive rewards. And Dragon City has over 450 million installs. That's a lot of installs, and that means a lot of people are playing it, which makes it even more fun. So embark on an adventure filled with enchanting quests, ancient legends, and mythical creatures, and download Dragon City today. And you can do that by clicking the link down in the description below, or scan the QR code to get the Call Me Chris pin instantly, and play with my dragons! And this is a limited time offer. So without further ado, let's get back to the video. But first, all right, so for those of you who don't know, Creep is basically a low-budget psychological horror film, a found footage horror film that was directed by Patrick Bryce and was co-written by Patrick Bryce and Mark Duplass. I used to say Duplay, but I heard him say his name and it's Duplass, so it's Duplass. Love Mark Duplass and Patrick Bryce. I'm a big fan, big fan, okay? And the way I went about making my movie was very similar to this one and a few other found footage horror movies, so I'm excited to get into it and talk about it. But anyway, its simplicity combined with effective tension building has made it a cult favorite in the found footage horror genre. But some people don't like it, and I just don't understand that, because I don't know, for me, I think the more simple a movie is, the better, because there's a lot of shitty movies nowadays, all right? A lot of shitty movies that have massive budgets that are just tanking in the box office. For example, The Watchers had a $30 million budget and they only made $32.9 million. Not that that's not a lot of money, but if you're only making like, I don't even know what percentage that is, 0.1% or 1%. I don't even know. What is that? I don't know how to do math. I'm a YouTuber. I don't know what you expect from me. But to make $2.9 million off a $30 million movie is pretty bad. So it's like these movies with all these insane effects and sound and actors and all this, it's just a lot. So being brought back to like almost these like YouTube like school project type videos, found footage, those tend to be my favorites, because I just know money wasn't just like shoved into it to try to make it good. But then again, there are some not so good found footage horror movies. Maybe mine's not that great, I don't know, but it was fun. And that was the whole point of making mine. I just really wanted to have fun with friends and try to make a movie, you know, because why not? But anyway, I think specifically Creep is extremely unique and has a lot of really interesting production facts that I'm going to talk about later as well. And I personally just love the premise.
No one knows I'm here.
Hi. Oh, I'm sorry.
So Creep was made in 2014 by Patrick Bryce and Mark Duplass, as I said. And Mark Duplass played Joseph and Patrick Bryce played Aaron. And the runtime was about 77 minutes, which was also such a nice sweet spot, because it's not that long and it's not too short, but it's like, I don't know, it just started and ended in a good amount of time, especially for like a horror movie. I just don't love when it's dragged out, and it just so happens to be that mine's the exact same amount of time. Not intentional though. And they worked with a budget of about $1 million, which sounds like a lot of money, but it really is not at all in Hollywood. And it was distributed by South by Southwest and later distributed on Netflix, which I highly recommend you give it a watch. Even though I'm going to be going over and breaking down the movie, it's still well worth the watch. Spoilers ahead, because for those of you who don't know, I'm gonna get into the nitty gritty of the movie and break it apart and also just fangirl a little bit. So let's go over the synopsis first. So the film follows Aaron, who's Patrick Bryce, a videographer who responds to a Craigslist ad for a one-day filming gig. The job requires him to travel to a remote cabin to record a video diary of Joseph, who's Mark Duplass, who claims to be dying of terminal cancer and wants to make a video for his unborn child. As the day progresses, Joseph's behavior becomes increasingly bizarre, and Aaron begins to question Joseph's true motives, leading to a disturbing and tension-filled climax. So like I said, spoilers ahead, we're gonna get right into it. So the film opens up on Aaron driving to a remote cabin. He's a freelance videographer hired through a vague Craigslist ad for a one-day filming gig. What could go wrong? You know? And the opening really sets the tone of isolation. Aaron records himself in the car explaining that he doesn't know much about the job other than that it's supposed to be easy money. The drive into the woods emphasizes his growing detachment from civilization, giving the viewer a sense of foreboding right from the start. At first, I thought it was filmed in British Columbia, because it actually really looked like British Columbia, but it was actually filmed in California. So, but still West Coast. Still West Coast. Very beautiful scenery. So Aaron soon after arrives at the cabin, but finds no one there. He honks his horn and knocks on the door. After a tense period of waiting, Joseph suddenly appears, startling Aaron. I don't get scared at movies, but for some reason, the jump scares in this movie are so good, and they don't rely on like sound effects, that's what I love about found footage as well. It's not like that like that obvious, you know? Well, there is, but you know, it's just like volume, less so sound effects, which I appreciate. So I don't know, you, again, watch it. And this moment really establishes Joseph as just this unpredictable weirdo, basically. But his unexpected appearance is kind of like playful, but also unnerving. So at this point in the movie, you're just like, okay, cool. Like you feel just like Aaron does in the movie, which I appreciate. And I feel that Aaron reacts in the same way that you would. It's not like out of the realm of possibility. Like when people in horror movies just act ridiculous, and like you never would, like leave that situation. He hangs out and he like figures figures it out. But anyway, I'll get into it. So Joseph apologizes for startling Aaron and welcomes him in with exaggerated enthusiasm, immediately creating an odd tension. And the next scene is when they're inside the cabin, where Joseph explains that he has terminal cancer and only a few months left to live. He wants to create a video diary for his unborn son so that his child can get to know him after he's gone. So in this moment, they're really building that like sympathetic aspect that Aaron has for Joseph. So it's kind of harder for him to leave, even though he is a bit weird, or Joseph is a bit weird. It's like, okay, well, he has cancer and he's making this video for his kids. So like there's that amount of sympathy, which I think is such a good little piece of like story plot to put in there to keep him there. And Joseph's story about his illness, when he's telling it, seems pretty sincere, and his demeanor is very friendly. And he tells Aaron that his goal is to film personal moments throughout the day, capturing the essence of personality for his future son. This includes strange and vulnerable activities like recording himself bathing in a tub, symbolizing rebirth. This scene is so awkward, like uncomfortable. I think the overall arching feeling of this movie is just unnerving and uncomfortable. And that to me is scary. Like there's jump scares and like, you know, demons and all that kind of stuff in other movies, but I don't know, just the unpredictability of the movie is what makes it so scary. But anyway, let's get into Tubby Time. So Joseph asks Aaron to film him reenacting Tubby Time, a fictional bath time routine he plans to share with his unborn son. Joseph gets fully naked, which you don't see. Luckily, you just see like his upper half. Thank God. Stay tuned for the second movie though. Shit goes down. And he goes into the tub pretending to interact with his child, scrubbing and singing to him, while Aaron's just sitting there like right beside the tub filming him. It's so weird. And Aaron's reaction is captured through the camera, showing his growing unease. Joseph's behavior seems to cross normal boundaries, yet his explanation is emotionally compelling. This moment highlights the tension between discomfort and empathy that Aaron feels for him. And so after the bath, Joseph introduces Aaron to Peach Fuzz, a wolf mask he says belonged to his father. Such a simple premise, and also something that was introduced while they were filming. This wasn't even part of the movie until they were actually in the midst of filming it, but it's simply just a wolf mask that is terrifying. Joseph puts on the mask and performs a strange dance, claiming it's a childhood memory. It is the most terrifying dance I've ever seen in my life. And this moment is bizarre, with Joseph's tone just switching dramatically. Like he's like gyrating while he's dancing erratically, all while under the guise of a very like playful performance, or what's supposed to be a playful performance. And Joseph's explanation of the mask doesn't really make sense either. And Aaron's unease at this point is palpable. And this scene is kind of the turning point where Joseph's eccentricity starts to feel more threatening. Joseph takes Aaron on a hike to a nearby location called Miracle Waters. He claims it's a special place where his life changed after a near-death experience. The setting becomes more isolated as they venture deeper into the wilderness. Joseph shares more personal stories, many of which are strange and unsettling, like recounting a story about almost drowning. Despite Joseph's friendly tone, though, Aaron's discomfort continues to grow. And you do too, because they're like going deeper and deeper into the forest. There's no people around and you're like, oh my God, like go back to the car. But like Joseph's being like very vulnerable and stuff. So it's hard for Aaron. Again, you just feel like you're Aaron and you're like, I don't even know what I would do in this situation. So the remoteness of the location definitely increases the sense of danger at this point in the movie. And this is also where they like find a rock with a heart in it, and Joseph draws their initials on a rock. So then you kind of think like, does he like love Aaron, or like, is this what's going on? Is he gay? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's cool, but like, I don't understand. Like, and it's just, again, like the tension's odd, but then they end up going back to the cabin. And this brings us to a confession. So later, Joseph offers a confession to Aaron. He admits that he lied earlier. He reveals that he's a deviant and tells a disturbing story about putting on the Peach Fuzz mask and his wife. So we take a... Oh my God. What a poorly timed alarm. What was that even for? I don't know. Just to scare me, I guess. I don't know. He then apologizes for not telling Aaron sooner, claiming it's part of his efforts to be truthful before he dies. So he's still trying to like gain sympathy from Aaron, even though he's literally telling Aaron that he lied like about everything. So obviously Aaron now doesn't trust him, and the whole audience is feeling so uneasy and weird. And at this point, it's also getting closer to nighttime, so you're just like, get out of there, get out of there. So at this point, I, the audience, and everybody else, and Aaron are feeling very uneasy, and they don't know if Joseph is just manipulating him in this situation or not. So the story becomes much darker at this point, and the friendly veneer that Joseph displayed earlier is now completely unraveling. And also, at the beginning of the movie, I forgot to mention this, Aaron sees an axe in the stump just outside the house, and just kind of thinks nothing of it. And why would you? Like, I mean, it's like an axe out there on a stump, like, but it just allows that little ominous feeling, like, you know, it's a horror movie, so like, ooh. But then Joseph goes on to tell Aaron that the axe in the stump was just for chopping wood, but he also jokes about it, saying that if Aaron noticed it and if that would put him off, but it didn't, so that's why Joseph liked him and stuff. It's very weird. He's just playing all these mind games with Aaron, but at this point Aaron is just getting more and more increasingly nervous, but he still stays. And at this point I probably would have been like, okay, I'm out, and like wouldn't have accepted any excuses. Even if my car broke down, I'd be just through the woods, you know? So Aaron, finally doing what all of us would do, and tries to finally attempt to leave the premises. However, Joseph pleads with him to stay, apologizing profusely for his erratic behavior. Joseph admits to feeling desperately lonely and begs Aaron not to abandon him. So now he's playing on his empathy and sympathy again. But Aaron isn't really buying, and he's like, no, I'm good, man. Like, I gotta get out of here, all right? And that's very clear in the movie. Aaron's instinct to leave is like, we can feel it. We're just like, go in the movie. But Joseph's manipulation tugs at his sense of guilt. And Aaron even goes to leave, but he can't find his keys, and he's kind of walking around the house trying to find his keys. And then Joseph is just kind of like, weird, like, are they in your jeans? Are they over there? And like, you kind of know that Joseph knows where his keys are, and you're like, Aaron, seeing that Joseph is crazy, to say the least. But that's when Aaron decides to just chill out and go into what Joseph wants, and he agrees to stay. He gives in with a plan to drug Joseph. He actually goes to make himself and Joseph a drink, and he puts in, I think it's like NyQuil or some shit, I don't know, some sort of Benadryl or something inside the drink, and then he gives it to Joseph, and then he sits down to talk to Joseph. And when they're talking, Joseph is saying like, this drink tastes weird. And he's like, I don't know, it's really funny.
You're doing good.
You get scared the whole time that he like knew that Aaron drugged him, but we don't actually know that if he knows that he did. So then after Aaron successfully drugs Joseph, he falls asleep next to the fireplace. Joseph does. And then Aaron's awake, and he's still looking for his keys. And thinking that Joseph took his keys, he's looking through his pockets while he's sleeping, which is just horrible to watch because you think Joseph's gonna wake up the whole time. And then he finds Joseph's phone, so he takes that out of his pocket, and then he goes in to look into his next pocket, and then Joseph's phone starts ringing. And then he runs away with the phone and answers it, and a woman answers the phone, and she says, hello. And then Aaron answers, and he's like, Angela, which is supposed to be Joseph's wife, the wife that Joseph was talking about that he's gonna have that future kid with. But then Angela says that she's actually Joseph's sister, and that Joseph is plainly just, he belongs in the loony bin, basically. And she tells him to get the out of there. And that's when you're like, get out of there, why are you talking on the phone? I think now is a good time to give you guys a little break and a little sneak peek, a little trailer of my new movie. Roll the tape. We are going to a place called the House on Eden Road, and we just wanted to know if you guys have heard of that before.
I've actually never heard of a House on Eden Road.
I read about a girl going missing like 60-ish years ago. I don't know who, but that's what I read online.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't feel good about this.
How sick is this? So after Aaron gets up and goes to leave, he sees that Joseph is gone from the fireplace, and just every ounce of hope drains from Aaron and the audience's body. And you're like, oh my God, where the is Joseph? And this is where Aaron starts to go around the house looking for Joseph, and then that's when we get this jump scare where he sees him outside on the balcony. And then he just starts saying all this weird shit, and you don't know what's gonna happen next. And then Joseph bolts off the balcony and into the house, and you're like, oh my God. And he goes and hides, and then Aaron is stuck just looking around the house and trying to get out of the house before Joseph can get to him. And that is when we get, I don't know, for some reason this is one of the most scariest and disturbing moments in a horror film for me, but we see Joseph in front of the front door with the peach fuzz mask on, and he just starts growling and nodding his head, and then starts like gyrating his hips and stuff. And then Aaron's like, I need to leave. And then you're like, oh my God. And then they both like run at each other, and then it goes to black. And then it opens up on such a good scene, which you think is like the end of the movie, but it's like way too soon to be the end of the movie. But it's Joseph with the camera kind of far away, and he's dragging a garbage bag up the hill. And he also has a shovel, and he's literally like, it looks like he's digging a grave. So you just assume that Aaron's in that bag, and you're like, oh no. Then the camera is filming a video of Joseph doing that, and it turns around and Aaron is the one filming that video. So he's literally being sent this specific video of Joseph burying this trash bag that he sent to Aaron. Is that making sense? Joseph sent a video of himself to Aaron to like help haunt him. So now we know that Aaron escaped somehow, which we never know, but he did. And now Joseph knows where Aaron lives and is sending him ominous weird tapes, and Aaron is mildly concerned. But it's weird because Aaron still thinks he's like relatively innocent and that he's just like a sad, lonely guy. But like, for me, I guess because I'm a woman, I would just be like calling the police immediately, which he does end up doing, but they say they can't really do anything because he hasn't threatened him in any very obvious way and hasn't harmed him. So he's kind of just left alone to his own devices. And after the first package, he gets another package that actually has a little stuffed animal wolf inside it. And he tells Aaron basically to cut the wolf open and that there's something inside for him. And so Aaron naturally cuts the wolf open, and he sees that there's a necklace inside it with a little heart pendant that he can open up, and it literally has a picture of Joseph and Aaron on the inside, and it's just so creepy. And this would be when Aaron actually calls the cops, and when they tell him that they can't really help him because nothing he's doing is inherently bad. It's just kind of creepy. So Aaron naturally just tries to forget about the whole situation, but then he goes to bed that night and he wakes up because he had a really bad dream, and then he hears something outside of his house, so naturally he freaks the f out. He gets up and he looks around his house while his camera's still on, and we just are waiting for Joseph to show up. And of course he does. He has like an appearance at the back door, but Aaron never sees him. Aaron goes outside to look for whoever's out there, assuming it's Joseph, and he comes around the back of his house and sees that garbage is just strewn everywhere, so he just chalks it up to it being raccoons, and then he goes back to sleep not worrying about it. And then it cuts to the camera on Aaron, so somebody turned the camera on to Aaron in bed, and it's obviously Joseph, and Joseph gets the camera and he's kind of moving it around Aaron, and then he takes a pair of scissors and cuts off a lock of his hair because, you know, as you do. I do it all the time to Caleb. Don't tell him I said that. But it's just really creepy. It's just showing that it was Joseph the whole time. And then Aaron wakes up and finds that there is a DVD on his windowsill, so he knows that somebody was inside his house that says "My Last Video." So he obviously knows that it's from Joseph. So he goes right to his TV. He puts it in the DVD player. I know you kids probably don't know what that is, but it's a little machine that plays these little circle discs that have movies on them. It's really weird. It's crazy. We used to have VHS tapes, really big. You had to rewind them before you return them to the video store. Good times, better times. But anyway, he watches the video and Joseph basically explains that he's sorry for everything that he did, that he was the one that saw that he had thrown the gifts that Joseph had give him out in the garbage, so he was the one that strewn the garbage everywhere on the outside, and that he really wants to talk to him and just basically hash everything out in public. So he says, hey, I'm gonna be here at this lake. It's a super public place, so if you want to come, come, that's awesome. If not, then that's okay too. But I really, really want to talk to you one last time. Yada, yada, yada. Basically, he's gaining that sympathy and that empathy that he knows that Aaron has for him again. And even when Aaron pauses the video, he's just like, look at him. Like, he's so sad. Like, you're just like, don't do it. But then he does. So it cuts to the next scene where Aaron put up his video camera in his car at the park bench in a very public park, like next to a lake. And he films where he's going to be sitting down and meeting Joseph. And he's just doing this like for his own safety, basically. And then we see Aaron go and sit down on the bench and like, I don't know, like 15, 20 seconds go by and you're just like, okay, what's going on? And then we see Joseph walking up right behind him and Aaron somehow doesn't hear him. And this is the only part of the movie where I'm just like, how could you not hear him walking? Like there's grass and leaves and sticks and stuff, which this is addressed at the end of the movie. But after a few seconds, Joseph pulls out the peach fuzz masks, puts it on from under his coat, and then he takes out the axe from the beginning of the movie from under his coat, and he delivers a murderous blow to the back of Aaron's head, and then continues to just axe open Aaron's head while we're just watching this on the videotape. And I love how quiet it is and just how like you're just sitting there just like slack jawed, like what the actual and then that I would have been so satisfied with the movie even just ending there. But then we see, similar to what's happened before, is that somebody's actually filming what is happening right now. And Joseph turns around the camera and talks about how he loves rewatching it and that he's confused as to why Aaron didn't turn around. And he thinks it's just because he's a really nice guy and that's why he chose him and that's why he loves him and that's why he's his favorite, which then alludes to the fact that he is not the only one that Joseph has killed. And then he proceeds to like scare the camera one last time and then takes the camera and takes the tape that he had and then puts it up into a cupboard that's chock full of his previous victims. So he has done this numerous times, and then you're just left like, oh my god, like this guy's like the craziest serial killer ever. So it like really just encapsulates the exploration of human vulnerability and manipulation and empathy, and it's just all of these things mixed in together and just like dread and anxiety. So I think it did such a good job of that. And then it kind of leaves you on that cliffhanger of a second film, which did end up happening. And Creep 2, I don't love as much as Creep 1, but I did enjoy it. It's essentially the same premise, but it kind of gets turned on its head because in Creep 2, it was also written by Patrick Bryce and Mark Duplass, but it features a woman this time named Sarah. The actress's name is actually Desiree Akavan, and she's great in the film. I do enjoy it. I highly recommend watching Creep 2 as well. I'm not going to go into the whole like breakdown of the film, but basically Joseph now goes by the name Aaron, which is obviously the guy he killed in his previous murder, targets a new victim, Sarah, who he employed through the same thing, Craigslist, to make a film. And Sarah agrees to do the film, and once she gets there, she figures out what she's actually filming. And Aaron, Joseph, goes on to tell her that he's actually a serial killer. And Sarah doesn't really believe him in the moment. She's like, yeah, okay. But her whole shtick is that she makes YouTube videos about people and how interesting they are. So this is like the coolest thing ever and gives her a reason to kind of stick around and make that video. And in advance, Aaron/Joseph tells her that he won't kill her, that he just wants to make this video before he ends his own life. So she's like, all right, kind of not believing him, or not believing him at all, until he starts to show her that it is legit, and she actually starts to get scared. And then she kind of starts to play on his vulnerabilities, and she tries to manipulate him, which is a really interesting twist on what happened in the first movie. I highly recommend watching that video because there is actually a third installment that's happening, which is actually about the tapes that he had in the cupboard in the first movie, and I'm really excited about it. So yeah, I mean, the movie itself is just so awesome at making the audience so anxious and confused and uneasy, and the minimalism and the stripped down approach of the film is just so raw and interesting, and that's the way I like to watch found footage films, and that's kind of the way I went about filming my found footage film, which is fun. Do I think it's as good as Creep? Probably not. But again, I had a lot of fun filming it. But with found footage, I feel like, especially with Creep, you get that kind of claustrophobic feeling and that anxious feeling, and that's what really makes a good horror film, in my opinion. And rather than relying on like gore and overt scares and those tropey jump scares, it really just plays on like that psychological terror aspect, which I think is great. I think unpredictability in a film is like the best thing you can do, and Creep does that really, really well. And also what I find interesting is like the interesting facts about the film. Basically, similar to Blair Witch, a lot of it was improvised, which is another thing I took out and kind of applied to my movie as well. Like, I had story beats for the movie, but we kind of just had fun and improvised, which just kind of makes it feel more natural, or that's what made Creep feel really natural, in my opinion. Duplass and Bryce had like a rough outline for the film, and they just kind of filled in the details organically. And also, like I mentioned before, it was a low budget success because they were only working with $1 million, which not even a tenth of that was the budget for what I did with my movie. So let that sink in. But they had a minimal crew, and they shot it within 5 days. I believe it was like 5 to 7 days, which is awesome. And I'm not going to reveal how long it took to film our film yet, but I will. It'll be in like the fun facts after the fact of like screening it and stuff. I think it'll be interesting to hear. And the inspiration behind Creep was basically just the unsettling experiences that can arise from the internet-based social interactions, especially on like Craigslist encounters and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. Like, shit is crazy online. So I really like that aspect of it and the realism of it. But yeah, I think Creep is very underrated, and I feel like more people should appreciate it, and found footage in general. Some of my other favorite found footage films are Blair Witch Project, obviously. Wreck is really good as well. Paranormal Activity, obviously, original is good. The other ones, they're all right. I also love As Above, So Below. There's a lot of really good found footage films, and I think they need more appreciation, you know? And that's why I wanted to make one, because I really enjoy those types of movies. So I really hope that you guys can come to one of the screenings that are happening, and I hope you guys enjoyed the little sneak peek of it. We're really excited to show you guys what we made. And as for Creep and Patrick Bryce and Mark Duplass, I thank you for some of the inspiration for my film, and I think it's awesome, and I think you guys, if you're feeling inspired to make something, just do it, you know, just make it, because you only live once, and we got the internet, you know, the internet is a beautiful place, and you can kind of do whatever you want to do, which is really cool. But don't make Craigslist ads and kill other people. Don't do that. Oh, I think it was Kevin. Oh my God, it scared me. Anyway, I will see your beautiful face in the next video. Okay, bye.